What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys have had a great weekend so far. Yesterday, so Saturday, we actually had a pretty big cookout for my youngest son's birthday. He just turned 2, which seems like it's going so fast. But that was a lot of fun. It was my first time ever grilling out for more than just 4 or 5 people. So that was interesting. A lot more grilling than what I expected. And the grill was filthy dirty. But today, we actually just got back from a reptile expo, seeing some snakes, lizards, frogs, turtles, some birds, all kinds of different stuff. So we had a pretty good weekend. So I hope you guys did as well. You can let me know something you did interesting down below. Or what I also want to ask you guys to do is from this list of champions. Today, what I want to talk about is live arena and my top 10 favorite champions to use. Now, I do a lot of stuff where I try out different champions. I try out Basher, I tried out Elgaius. I'm trying out a few others that they're going to be coming soon, but some of these champions that I try out, they're not that great, okay? They don't really fit into my top 10. They're usable if you don't have anything better, but some of them just aren't going to get the time in the spotlight, basically. But today, I'm going to go through and talk about if I was seriously pushing in live arena. Like if I'm trying to get to gold by the end of the week, what teams, what champions will I be using? So today, I have the top 10 champions that I would most likely be using in live arena if I was actually pushing. And what I want to know from you guys is to choose one champion, either from my list or from your own, that you would say is the most important champion for you to actually push successfully in the arena. Now, to be honest, I don't have the champion, but it'd probably be Taras. Taras and Marichka, it could just be because I don't have them, but I feel like if I had these two champions, it would make life so much easier in the arena. But I don't have them, so they're not on this list. Because more than just showing you the champion, I want to show you how I have them built. So maybe that can give you some inspiration on how to actually build your champion as well. So first up on the list is going to be a free champion. And honestly, going through this, I'm realizing there's a lot of free champions, actually about 5 champions who are free that are on this list, which is really crazy. Now, free is fusion champions, login champions, all that kind of stuff. But it's pretty surprising, honestly. I'm like, wow, Plarium's actually giving us a lot of chances to get some really good champions. Ragash was not necessarily free. This is the first champion on the list. They're not ordered in any specific order, but Ragash, he was a guaranteed, I believe, from Ancient Shards, and this dude is so good. So there's 2 champions that kind of, pick between Ragash and Stoutus. Those are probably some of the best defense-based nukers. The reason why I like Ragash so much is because he's Spirit Affinity. Specifically against Harima and Ultimate Death Knight, he's never going to weak hit. But even more importantly, versus Stoutus, Stoutus weak hits versus Duchess, which feels really bad sometimes. Stoutus hits super hard, but Ragash, he's just so good. He brings several things to his kit. He brings an increased defense on his A1 ability. He has a very hard-hitting AoE attack on the A2 ability, low cooldown, places a stun, and a decreased defense, and then his A3 kind of like doubles up as a support. So basically his entire kit, he can take a hit, he can definitely dish a hit, and he's really doing good as far as overall team support. Maybe you go first and you don't want to deal damage into reaction. Just use the A3 ability. Go ahead and get the Strengthen, the Veil, the increased speed on your entire team. Well, the Veil does only go onto this champion, but the other 2 buffs do go on everybody else. So overall, Ragash ends up becoming not just a great damage dealer, but he's actually a pretty good support champion as well. I've definitely had him save me several times. This ability is very cool, placing the perfect Veil on an ally with the highest attack. Also inflicts 20% more damage against targets whose defense is lower than this champion's. But as far as the build that I have for Ragash, it's pretty simple. It's relatively fast, 212 speed. We have good defense, good crit damage. I don't have him built with any accuracy, but you can. If I'm stunning the support or the damage dealers, that's really all I care about. I would love to stun some of the actual support champions, but most of the time they have Polymorph. And until Polymorph gets changed, I'm not really that worried about stunning them consistently. I really don't want to get Polymorphed. As far as his masteries, those are his masteries. So number 2, like I said, we got 10 champions. I don't want this to take forever. Number 2 is also a free champion. A free champion being Ronda. Now, if you don't have her now, if you didn't get her from the previous free champion event, then you got to pull her from a shard, which I believe you can pull her from a shard, right? I'm actually not even 100% sure. Can you still pull her? I think you can, but maybe you can't. Let me see. It should say from here. Is she able to be pulled? This champion cannot be summoned from shards. Wow, okay, so I'm sorry. If you don't have her, then you just can't get her. But Ronda is a very, very good champion. So I love using her against Rotos. She destroys him. That multi-hitter on the A1 ability, joining in on ally attacks, the triple hit from the A2 ability, also blocking passives and actives, is so good versus Duchess, versus Rotos, versus Siffy. versus even Ultimate Death Knight. It's so good versus so many champions. It can't be resisted. It's placed before attacking and then after attacking, so weak hits don't really matter. So in general, this ability is incredibly useful. So good. She has an AoE ability that also is pretty nice, but to be honest, her main abilities that I'm really focused on is that A1 ability, how hard it hits, the A2 ability, just deleting champions, her passive joining in on attacks, and also starting the round with shields. This is really nice as well. So against enemy Rotoses, enemy Duchesses, enemy Ultimate Death Knights, Siffys, really whatever it is, Ronda is going to do very good. Now, if it's a Force Affinity champion like a Candrafon, Pythion, Ronda's not going to do amazing, especially if they have cleanses. It really depends on what the champion's passives and actives are, but in general, Ronda is a fantastic champion. Now, as far as how do I have her built, I have her built, once again, pretty fast. You'll notice that's a very common theme with my live arena champions specifically. I actually opt for a little bit more speed and a little bit less damage, but still want to keep their damage and their defense ignore pretty high. But in general, the champions in live arena, I like to make sure they're going a little bit faster than maybe the old school version of like 170 speed, running a sleep champion and so on. Because if you're not getting turns in live arena, you're going to get lapped and you're going to just die. That's really all there is to it, in my opinion. At least that's what I've found, that running champions a little bit faster seems to make the most sense for live arena. So as far as your masteries go, very similar to Ragash and really most of the damage dealers you're going to see in this video. The next champion is going to be, once again, another free champion. Now, I've ordered this in a specific way. It's not all free champions, but it is going to be my free champions first, and then I'm going to go into more of the paid options and more of the, stuff that you may not be as interested in, and you can probably expect to be seen on the list. I mean, if I scroll up here, you can probably imagine what champions will be shown, okay? But the next champion is Ultimate Death Knight. Now, this dude is incredible. He is so good. There's a few parts of his kit that are especially useful. I mean, one massive one being that he takes the first hit from any enemy attacks, which is Rotos hits UDK. Rotos is basically nullified if you have an Ultimate Death Knight on the other team, okay? So if Rotos is attacking me and I have a UDK, that Rotos is going to weak hit. My UDK is in Stone Skin, as slow as humanly possible, or as, I guess, undead possible, I don't know. But either way, as slow as possible is that I can make him. 113 speed, crank the HP up as high as you can possibly get it. Stone Skin's shield is based off your HP. So crank your HP way up, get defense where you can, make him low speed, accuracy if you can get it, and then reaction, possibly even revenge stuff as well, because he does have very useful stuff on his other skills besides just taking that first hit. So as A1, the provoke, it actually happens pretty often. And it is super effective when it does. It is so nice getting that clutch provoke on maybe a Duchess, maybe a Pythion, one of those res champions, one of those cleanse champions who could change the tide of the battle. And all of a sudden you provoke them and now they're shut down. So the A1 provoke is very helpful. The A2 is also very useful, which is why I build in with some accuracy. Now I don't focus too much accuracy. I may have an accuracy banner. It's got good HP percentage rolls, but I'm not going accuracy chestplate, I don't think. Okay, so no accuracy chestplate, actually HP with some pretty bad rolls down here. But ultimately, you really just want enough accuracy to land it on those nuke champions, because that decreased attack is going to be pretty significant on those champions. It also helps you kind of dodge the chance of polymorphs, which is always a big help. Now, one thing I want to mention, if you're going UDK and you have him specifically in two turn, basically, or 6 pieces of Stone Skin, if you're running masteries that are either rapid response, increase your turn meter whenever a buff is removed or expired, or if you're running arcane celerity, then be very mindful about the timing of using these two abilities. Because if you're using the A2, placing debuffs on the entire enemy team, and you have your UDK running as slow as possible, but the debuffs are falling off, he's getting turn meter boosted, or he has a chance of getting turn meter boosted. So in a way, you're kind of messing up your strategy with being super slow in Stone Skin. So say, for example, you're using this mastery. Well, the first turn, don't use the A3 ability, right? Because that's a buff. Don't use the A3. Instead, the first turn, use the A2 because you don't have the Arcane Celerity mastery. Hopefully that makes sense. Or, of course, you could just go Swarm Smiter. That's going to be perfectly fine as well. But for me, I do like the turn meter boost after that Stone Skin actually wears off. But before the Stone Skin wears off, I really want to be going as slow as possible, which is how I have him set up. You'll notice no turn meter boosting stuff throughout his kit unless I want it to happen. So if I want the turn meter boost to happen, I'll get it to happen. I'll have the buffs placed, it'll happen. And the next champion, before we get to it, I would ask you guys to drop a like on the video. I don't ask very often, but I've heard that it really helps the videos get pushed out. So you drop a like. If you enjoy the content, subscribe to the channel as well. It's very, very much appreciated. The next champion is going to be Mighty Uko. So Mighty Uko, man, he is an incredible champion, not only for Live Arena, but really the game in general. Hydra, Arena, Live Arena, whatever arena content you're doing, those are the main two areas, but you can use him in other spots as well. Of course, Faction Wars, he's an incredible champion there. Was a fusion champion a while back, so hopefully you guys all got him. But the decreased attack on the A1, the strip plus the block buffs on the A2, the res, which is a little bit finicky, especially if you're using it on auto, but the res on the A3, and then this daggone annoying passive. So Uko, or Mighty Uko, brings a ton of very useful stuff. The main things I want to talk about though are really, actually his whole kit is valuable. But this A1 is massive, especially after using that A2 to remove their, block debuffs, to remove their buffs in general. Now you're placing block buffs. If the enemy has bolster set or lightning cage or any buffs on them, say ward of the fallen, whatever it may be, it says this only places the block buffs and the decreased accuracy if they have no buffs after the attack. So be mindful about when you use this ability, but this does set up perfectly for that A1 ability to place that decreased attack on the Rotoses, the Candrafons, the Leorises, the Rondas, whatever attack-based nuker they have, decreased attack is 100% going to mess them up. So we have an amazing A2 ability, a very solid A1 ability, all AoE attacks, which can be either really good or really bad if you're going against more twos. But majority of the time, AoE attacks are incredible, especially when you gear Mighty Uko in stun set. So the A1, the A2, so good. The A3, you can use it as an increased speed, but for me, I typically try to save it as a res. But it's definitely very viable to use it just as the increased speed, depending on what matchup you're in. Most of the time, I just save it for the res though. Now, as far as the passive, this has a chance of stealing one random buff from a random enemy each time a buff is placed. This means that at the start of the turn, they play Stone Skin, you can steal that. Or even after that initial turn, if let's say a Duchess places buffs on everybody, you could still steal the Stone Skin that was initially placed, even though the Stone Skin wasn't placed that turn. So basically, just because a buff is being placed, doesn't mean that's the only one you can steal. You can steal any of the available buffs, which is pretty crazy. I've had Stone Skin being stolen that was placed a long time ago. But either way, very frustrating passive when you're the one on the opposite end of it, but a very nice passive when you're the one actually receiving it. Plus they're protected, which is even more annoying. Any stolen buffs become protected. I love to bring Mighty Uko, especially against teams with like Helicath, team with Duchess, team with really any heavy buffs going out. But to be honest, I actually love to bring him just as much against teams that have no block buffs, have really no buffs at all, because he doesn't only place the buffs or the block buffs, he also places the decreased attack, the decreased accuracy, a chance to place stuns, plus a res. He's force affinity, so he's strong versus a lot of those magic affinity nukers. And being in stun set, he's going to be stunning everybody. It's just going to be honestly a perfect setup. So for him, I have him built very fast as I can currently, while still keeping pretty good accuracy. And I am mindful about the HP. So the HP, important. For me, it's kind of like the speed number 1 priority, accuracy number 2, and then HP number 3. But it's kind of like accuracy number 1.5 to a certain point. So say like 300 accuracy is like number 1 priority. And then after that, accuracy becomes a little bit lower priority. And then you really focus speed, because you do need a minimum number of accuracy to actually be effective. And if you don't have that minimum number, you're not going to be doing very good in the arena. But if you do hit that minimum, then really just crank as much speed in that as you can. That's exactly what I've done with Mighty Uko. So for his masteries, I've gone Fearsome Presence. I think this is probably the best setup for him, specifically in the stun set or provoke set. But if you're using him in Hydra significantly and you really need some extra damage, going War Master is definitely going to be very valuable, especially if you're somebody who really needs help with Hydra. Next champion. We're going to continue this list because we're at 17 minutes and we got about 5 champions left to go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 actually, okay? I was completely wrong. Next champion is Helicath. Helicath is so good, but I don't only use him in Live Arena. I also use him in Iron Twins. So my current build for Helicath, I really wish I actually had another piece of Cruel gear right here. If I got a triple roll, crit rate, Cruel boots, that would actually be very good, because then he'd be ignoring more defense, which would be perfect. Exactly what I would want. Do I have it? So no, not quite. But when I get that, that'll definitely be being swapped, okay? But until then, this is going to have to work. This is actually a pretty good pair of boots. But either way, Helicath, he is using my Iron Twins team. So he's specifically 281 speed. That has to be set, okay? I have to have him that fast because I use him in Iron Twins. But besides that, now past the 281 speed, I can start getting creative, stacking his defense, getting his crit rate to 100%, getting his crit damage up. Technically, he could use some accuracy, but I'm not worried about it. So after those stats come up, now it's just, hey, throw him in the arena. Ideally, put him in Stone Skin gear. Stone Skin allows him to start the match and to not have to worry as much about, say, Kymar, not to have to worry so much about actually being locked down before the match really gets started. Also, the enemy team, a lot of times in live arena, if they don't have Arbiter, they're not really that fast. Like, there's a lot of slow teams. And if you bring Helicath specifically against Taras, man, Taras teams get very frustrated. And there's really not much more that I love than seeing Taras teams, Taras users, hit into my block damage and not do anything whatsoever. And then my Helicath come back and smack him because, man, he smacks so hard with his A1 ability. It attacks one enemy 2 times. Not only does it hit pretty hard, it has a chance to play some weaken, but it also ignores shield and block damage, which is so helpful. The A2 is nice, places his shield, but the A3 and the A1 are really the 2 main things, and his passive is super nice as well. Counterattacks with a default skill whenever an ally is hit while under block damage, so it doesn't matter if it's his block damage, if it's Mighty Uko's block damage, it doesn't matter whose block damage it is. They get hit with block damage, Helicath is counterattacking and doing quite a bit as well. Now, there's one drawback. Against enemy Harimas, Helicath is kind of a wet noodle. He does really nothing, he weak hits all the time, and it's really just a bad situation. But if you can get your Helicath in a spot, good defense, good crit damage, whatever speed you need, if you're using him in Iron Twins, 281. If you're not, then make him as fast as you possibly can. Make him hit hard, and he's going to definitely be a surprise champion for a lot of players. Maybe not so much now because he is getting more popular, but man, he is a champion who gets banned very often. I don't know why he's not glyphed. Oh, that's not really a good ring for him, honestly. I don't really need that ring because he counterattacks a ton as it is. This one actually is probably better if it rolls okay, but I don't know. We'll have to switch that later on. Have to check some stuff out, but that ring is really not that good for him. This refresh one may even be better, but either way, we're not here to re-gear him. Skills fully booked, masteries, there we go. So once again, very similar to all the other nukers that I have with their masteries built, but Helicath is one of those champions that, to be honest, I've been using him probably more than I should in the arena because he is fairly easily countered by Rotos, Mountain King, champions who ignore that block damage, Ramen 2, Kymar, Ronda messes him up. There's a lot of champions that do mess him up, but if you pick him wisely, which is really the key here, because he's hard countered, because that block damage, when you shut that down, you shut him down basically. He is hard countered by a lot of champions, but if you're very mindful, very careful about what you pick and what the enemy picks, then Helicath can be really an amazing champion to actually use in live arena. But that is one of the big things, honestly. Probably the biggest thing with all of these champions is making sure that you're picking them based on what your enemy picks and you're kind of being actually smart about it. Because if you're not, like if you throw a Mighty Uko in there when they have more to Macabre, they're not banning your Mighty Uko. You're going to be getting Peril proc like crazy. Also with Helicath, more to Macabre attacks you, Helicath counterattacks, chance of proc Peril. With Mithrala, same thing. Mithrala can place Hex. Well, not same thing, but different. Mithrala can place Hex, chance to petrify whenever he counterattacks, and it really shuts the champion down. So there's a lot of counters, but if you're mindful, you bring him in at the right times, he can really be an unstoppable force. The next champion. Now, this is the point where we get into some champions that are a little bit less free to play. By less free to play, I mean not at all. Actually, the first one is kind of. But if you got him, then it doesn't matter. If you didn't, then that's been so long ago. Rotos Fusion was years ago at this point. I missed it, but I do have a Rotos, and he's naked. But that's because I'm working on a different champion in his gear to showcase in a future video. But when it comes to gearing Rotos, stack his HP. His damage is based on HP as well as the attack. Flat HP on the accessories, especially the top stat, is very, very good. HP and attack, stack it up very high. For my Rotos, he's like 300% crit damage once he's fully geared. He is like 247 speed. So speed, crit damage, a lot of attack, a lot of HP, all that stuff is going to make for an amazing Rotos. Don't put accuracy on him. He does have a decreased defense, but just do not do the accuracy. Ward of the Fallen, very solid. I've invested a lot into him. He is by far the #1 champion as far as what I want to use when I'm in the arena, period. Like, if I get my Rotos in, the chance of me winning, even if my team is bad, is pretty high. I've seen him solo teams that he has no business soloing without really much of an issue, especially now that I got the 6-star version of the Ward of the Fallen. My entire team dies, that's fine. He uses their little skeletons to put more bone armor stacks on him, and really, it's just a disaster. His A3 hits incredibly hard, except for when Harima is on the enemy team, then it's kind of weak. His A2 not only hits hard, but it makes him hit even harder because he's like stealing their max HP. Basically, he destroys their HP, and then he gains HP, so then he's having a chance to actually, or almost able to actually place the block revive. It takes several turns to actually do that, but once he's using the A2 several times, then he can finally place a block revive. The A1 has a chance to get extra turns. His abilities have super low cooldowns. Honestly, this champion, for having been fixed so many times, is still pretty broken. Like, Rotos is just probably too good of a champion, honestly. Now, I'm not saying he should be fixed. I'm not saying he should be changed, because there's much more, I guess, broken champions, Taras and Marichka. But Rotos is a champion who is pretty nuts. Like, if you go against him in the arena, you already know that if he gets a turn, he can very well at any point just wipe out your entire team, which is a very not a good feeling when you're not using him at all. Unless, of course, you have a UDK. UDK makes Rotos like a sister militant, okay? Like a common champion. Makes him irrelevant, basically. At least in the first several turns. Once that stone skin comes down on UDK, it's a different story. But either way, the next champion who pairs very well with any attack-based damage dealer. Any attack-based damage dealer paired with this champion is like that attack-based champion now becomes either viable or becomes way more viable. And that is Necrit. Necrit is a champion who can make showcases very deceptive, to be honest. Like, if you're using, say, Baron, and your Baron is dominating everything, and Necrit is there, and Baron is actually getting hit and not dying, that could be very deceptive, okay? If you're using Turvold, Krutraxa, Ronda, Yannicka, any champion you're using, if Necrit is on that team and you're not going first, Necrit can potentially make that attack-based damage dealer look so much better because Necrit is protecting them insane, okay? His passive, placing all those buffs on the allies, placing the shield, having a massive shield in general, plus I have him in Bolster Set, plus Defiant, plus he does ally attacks. Necrit brings a lot. If you have him, you already know that. So when it comes to Necrit, I have him built with good HP, for the Bolster Set specifically, good defense. I have him okay speed. I could definitely do more or less. I've really seen both ways done. And then other than that, nothing really particular. Now, one thing I do want to say is refresh accessories can be very nasty with Necrit because that A2 ability has a chance to give you extra turns if no enemies are killed. What that means is if you use this, no enemies are killed, you get an extra turn, obviously. But if the refresh accessory procs, then now you can use that A2 again. If still no enemies are killed, well, then you can get an extra turn anyways and go into the A3. Or you can just actually kill an enemy. There's a lot of different possibilities with this. But when the refresh accessory procs, I've had it many times actually take a match going from I possibly will lose to holy crap, I just wiped out his entire team because my Necrit procced a couple extra turns, allowed my champion to actually wipe out their entire team, which is very cool whenever it happens. Now, as far as the actual mastery setup goes, I do have Bulwark with him. I have some other turn meter masteries, this one specifically, as well as Rapid Response. I'm not for sure if it's the best one. I may change it in the future, but so far, I like it. So the next champion that I want to talk about is probably one that you guys are pretty confused if they're not on this list. And that is Duchess. Duchess is amazing. Honestly, if you have her, you're using her. If you don't have her, you wish you had her because she is so good in Doom Tower. She's so good in just everywhere in the game. She is obviously one of my top champions, if not the top support champion pick in Live Arena for me. How I have her built is good HP, good defense, relatively good speed. I think I could have a better helmet. Actually, no, I have my quad roll helmet on her already, but I have her pretty good stats in general. She's not like the best, of course, but Bolster plus Defiant, I'd say she's pretty good. I can definitely push her gear up a little bit more. I don't have very good ascensions on these pieces, honestly, not really good at all, but I am happy with her build. I think it's solid. I think I should push up the glyphs a little bit more, min-max her stats to actually make her even that much better, but for now, she survives very well. Most champions can't one-shot her very easily, like Barons. She survives most Barons. This Defiant set alone makes her survive Barons very, very well. Obviously reaction stuff as well. And then, yeah, go for it. Just throw your Duchess in there. She's going to be very solid. Mine fully booked, of course. And then as far as the masteries go, I have her in Oppressor, or not Oppressor, Timely Intervention. Oppressor would be useless. We have her in Timely Intervention, which is a very solid blessing to have. Once we have the blessing changes for free, once they get changed, we should have a free one come out. I'm going to change her to Life Harvest because Life Harvest is so good. I'm not building my Duchess with accuracy, so she's never going to actually place Polymorph. I mean, she has 144 accuracy. So I'm going to switch her to Life Harvest, hopefully make the matches a lot better in general. But that's Duchess. I use her a ton, one of my top picks. And the next champion, also one of my top picks, but surprisingly, with how much I pick Rotos, I actually don't pick Siffy that often. Like, I used to use her a ton, but I feel like Duchess is just a better pick for me a lot of times. Now, sometimes I do pick Duchess plus Siffy, and one of them is almost guaranteed to be a ban. But recently, I really haven't been using a ton of Siffy. Now, if I'm really trying to push in Live Arena, I may pick her even more often, but currently, I don't use her a ton. Either way, she's an amazing champion, and when I'm actually pushing, I will definitely be using her. As far as how I have her built, I have her in 6 pieces of Stone Skin, obviously pretty fast, I'd say 285 speed, relatively fast, good HP, pretty good defense, actually a little bit better defense than what I really need, and then that's really all. We don't need accuracy on Siffy. Do not build accuracy on your Siffy. This can't be resisted anyway, so it's going to be pointless unless you're doing Polymorph, which I probably won't be doing. So as far as Siffy goes, you already know how crazy she is. She places an insane amount of buffs, very useful buffs, especially if you're using a defense-based nuker who can't use or can't do increased defense themselves. She can sleep enemies whenever they're above 50% turn meter, assuming they don't have block debuffs on them, or there's no Ultimate Death Knight on the enemy team, because she will be redirected to the Ultimate Death Knight. But she also has a very low cooldown on her res, 4 turns. That is crazy. Plus a chance to remove Freeze and Fear, and a chance to, she heals allies by 10% of their max HP at the start of their turn. So a big heal, a chance to remove crowd control effects, specifically Freeze and Fear, big buffs, cleanses Rotos, sleep on the A1, low cooldown res. Siffy's insane. I use her less than I should, but she is an amazing champion. I currently have her in Fearsome Presence, which, to be honest, is not going to be like that for very long. Once the blessing changes come into effect, probably put her into something like Life Harvest, Temporal Chains, or Intimidating Presence. And then, yeah, she's going to be still an amazing champion. So there we go, guys. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 champions who I would say are my most used champions when it comes to Live Arena. Let me know what champions maybe surprised you on this list. Maybe you expected all of this, but maybe you have a champion you use in Live Arena more than anybody else. Let me know who that is. Let me know, especially if you have any sleeper picks, some champions who you're like, yeah, Tyraku definitely doesn't use this champion unless it's a Hegemon or a Warlord, because yeah, I don't have those champions. I would use them if I did, but I don't. So guys, I do want to say a big thank you to everybody watching my videos, especially to you people who made it this far in the video. That's awesome. I very much appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. I will be streaming tomorrow on YouTube about 11 a.m., 10 a.m., whatever time the Live Arena is during the window. That is 10-ish a.m. for me. So I think this 14 to 16 time. Right now it's 20. Okay, yeah, so right here, the 14 to 16 UTC, that is when I should be live over on YouTube right here. So if you guys want to subscribe to the channel, you'll be notified when I go live. So thank you guys once again for watching the video. Hopefully you took something from it. And yeah, I'll catch you all in the next one.